16-episode season. We just had our 15th episode, and if you haven't been watching the show, but you're at all curious, you're in luck. No reason to start until right now. Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan and welcome back to Primetime Crisis. Today we're going to take a look at Legends of Tomorrow, the penultimate episode of Season 1. It's episode 15, Destiny, an episode I have been absolutely dreading on title alone, with all of the sappy stuff all season about Destiny versus free will, and not looking at that in anything like an intelligent or interesting way. And wow, what a whopper this is. Turns out that we're not really talking about Destiny at all. We're talking about some crazy people with a video game controller, and all of our characters are in a video game, and they're pressing buttons and moving them around and having them do all of the crazy, wacky, and often stupid, nonsensical, and completely incompetent things that they've been doing all season. This is one of the most entertaining episodes of television I've ever seen. Not for any reasons it's trying to be, probably, although I will say that this was legitimately more fun than a lot of this season has been, and I did enjoy certain little character moments. But of course, these characters aren't really characters, and that's literal now. They're not characters within the framework of the show, within the internal logic of the show. These people have not been people between the time they first went on the time ship and right now, and arguably never, given what Oculus is and how insanely, ridiculously powerful it is. And like I said, we've got absolute madmen in control of this thing. This show just out-Smallville'd Smallville. And I know some people really hate it whenever I complain about Smallville, but you guys, Smallville did all of these, like, people not themselves episodes, and one of the things that drove me absolutely insane about the finale, which I'll eventually, when I'm an elderly person, talk about on Counting Cryptofreaks, is that they made kind of the whole series for Lex Luthor. Spoiler alert for Smallville, but they made basically the whole series for Lex Luthor one of those episodes where kind of nothing counted, and we were talking about destiny versus free will the whole time, and if he could be a master of his own destiny, and then at the end, he just ends up becoming evil because, well, he's Lex Luthor and he has to do that, regardless of once again, spoiler alert for Smallville, so, you know, skip this part, skip ahead about 20 seconds if you don't want to hear this, but he loses all of his memories, and then ends up going evil anyway. This is as insane as that, and even more so because in this case, like, I thought that was nuts. We made the whole show for one character, one of those. Here, it's the whole show for all of our characters. I mean, from now on, they might be able to be masters of their own destiny and choose where they want to go and what they want to do. But we are told that up until we destroy the Oculus, that everything that our characters have done has been orchestrated. And not just orchestrated like, and I'll sort of give them this, at least it's not like a master planner, like, manipulates a person to go in a certain direction and somehow or rather is able to look like 100 steps ahead and knows exactly what he's going to do. It's kind of like that, but it's really more like mind control, which is hilarious because we also have regular mind control, and I don't know why we need to do that if we have a device that can take anybody in history and make them do whatever you want them to, at least as far as I understand it. The thing is, the storytelling in this show is so flimsy that we will introduce an idea and we'll be really ambiguous and vague about it. We'll have like a really quick explanation, really thin. There's this thing it does that, like, for example, last episode with the time with the jumper, okay, that's a Stargate thing, with the time traveling shuttlecraft that goes back to 2016. It can only make one jump to the future because reasons, because it's limited so that it's not too easy. But then, of course, it still is too easy because we also are contriving going back to 2016 so that Jackson can magically be healed, and so that we can just have some kind of cheap, easy drama in the moment. I mean, I'm repeating myself a lot with this show. These have been the problems all the way through, and we just continue to see, we're not learning from them, we just continue to see a whole bunch of examples of those things. So anyway, that's an example of that, where we just make up a thing and we tell you that that's how it works, and we really hope that you don't think about it, because there's no reason for that to be a conceit. The conceit is the time travel. The conceit is the situation, the idea that you have time masters and that they can manipulate the timeline and go. But there needs to be rules, within that conceit, and in order for me to suspend my disbelief. And this show makes that impossible, and now it has gone to such an absurd degree that I can't take the show any more seriously than I do Gotham. And in fact, I haven't been taking the show seriously, but more in kind of an irritated, like, I'm seeing so much potential here. There are really interesting philosophical disagreements and arguments and conversations we could be having that we're just not having. You'll drop a pretty cool, maybe even fascinating notion, and then you'll just use that to get us to the next plot point instead of actually sitting down and discussing it intelligently, and you're making everybody idiots. And now it's just hilarious! These people are all morons because they really are cartoon characters. The Time Masters are just crappy TV show writers. This Dunce guy, or whatever his name is, that's what I want his name to be. Druce, Commander Duncecap, Druce. This guy is a crappy TV show writer. He has written all of the episodes of this show in order to get us to this moment, so that Vandal Savage can take over the world, because he's going to be necessary in order to stop the world from being taken over and destroyed later by aliens, like 10 years afterwards. So at least we've introduced aliens in this universe now, so that's probably going to be some precedent for doing more extraterrestrial stuff later on with Flash and Arrow and any other shows that ever end up popping up in this universe, if we get more spin-offs. So Green Lanterns may be a possibility now. That could be exciting, except I have no faith in these shows anymore, but it could be cool if we had that. At least this was fun. It's nutso. So this Druce, let's just call him Dunce. Can we call him Dunce? Druce is like, we've got to make sure that Vandal Savage takes over the world, and because we have no hope without him. For some reason, I don't understand that. You have a machine that lets you change what anybody does in a timeline, and the way it's talked about, and I might be misunderstanding this, the way it's talked about, again, it's not like it's a machine that, like, takes people and, like, forces them to go to a certain place. So at first I thought that's what it was. First I thought what we were talking about was the time ship is traveling through the time stream, and they want to go to a certain place, but they come out here. And that might explain a couple of times where it's like, why are we at this particular time period? But most of the time, Hunter's gone there on purpose. We have used this as a retroactive way to explain a bunch of really stupid stuff, and I would love to go through this show. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I actually would not love to do this, but a part of me would almost want to go back through this show with a fine-tooth comb and see just how incredibly ludicrous this must be. That this Druce guy thinks that it's a good idea to make sure the future happens by writing a crappy TV show. By every single thing we're told these people do is because of this Oculus machine. So A, you've got this, you've got that, you have that kind of power, you don't need Vandal Savage. Write the aliens out of history. It is the idea that they can't write the future, they can only write things that have happened before them. Maybe even so, it seems like you could write the future and or you could write up till now in such a, but they use the Oculus in order to know what is going to happen with the future, so they can change things around and they know what the future is. So yeah, you're manipulating the future. We call it destiny. We keep saying, oh, you can't change it, but then Druce is also saying that the only people that have free will are the people that are in the Oculus. So they're God. That's the definition of God. You are moving pieces around on the chessboard. You are manipulating nature to your will. You're making the world, the timeline itself, in your image. Druce is God. The Time Masters are God. I don't know why they need Vandal Savage. That doesn't make any sense to me. And so that's the first thing that's absolutely preposterous. And the second thing is that he's got this really convoluted scheme to have Hunter pick up these people from precisely 2016, because that's when the TV show is being made, and to jump around through history and waste a bunch of time so that he's got all the episodes of his TV show that the CW had ordered, and then to get us to this particular place so that we can have a big reveal that Vandal Savage has been in league with them all along, and then the new reveal in this episode that the Time Masters orchestrated the death of Hunter's family in the first place so that Hunter would go do all this stuff. But why do we have to orchestrate it if these characters don't have free will and you are giving them free will? This makes so little sense and sounds so stupid. I kind of hope I'm wrong. Like, I'm sitting here talking about it going, that can't be what it is. It's what I just watched. I'm pretty sure, but it doesn't make any sense. This show has not made sense, but this is a new level of doesn't make any sense. Like I said, we have out Smallville. These characters, and this is the second thing in my list of things that make the Oculus. I guess this is the third thing, because the second thing is that it's hilarious that he cares about things like the romance with Palmer and Kendra. Like, apparently, that was them working off of a script, too, because that all had to why did you have to do all that? Just like, you don't need them. You don't need them at all. Just write Vandal Savage. Like, is the Oculus limited so that it's only able to influence people on that ship or something? I don't think so. And that's as dumb as anything else. But anyway, so, like, why don't you just have, just give Vandal Savage a time ship? Or better yet, just, like, manipulate everybody in 2161 or whatever it is, 2166, and have them all, make them all lemmings and have them just elect Vandal Savage dictator of the world, and now he's there and in charge and ready to go. Problem solved. Did you also want him to be able to go back in time and turn the timeline to whatever he wants it to be? Like, you basically set him up to be God, because that's what he's doing at the end of this. He gets in a time ship and he says, we're going to go back and change the world, and we're going to make it whatever I want it to be. And, you crazy people, you gave this absolute crazy nut job a time ship just because you think he's the only person powerful enough to save you from aliens, even though you have a thing that lets you control everybody. This is crazy. So, 15 episodes, folks. We've been watching 15 episodes, and none of the stuff that we've been talking about matters, because every single idiotic thing that anybody's done in the show, they've all done really stupid things. Every time they've gone to a time period, and Sarah and Snart and Rory, etc., have been like, let's just go walk around and mess with things in this time period, and Stein, let's go save people that weren't supposed to be saved and not worry at all about the timeline, because that's my morality. All of the really dumb things people have done, the really incompetent things people have done, it's not these characters. If you've been thinking this whole season that some of these people are acting really far out of character from where they were in the shows they were in before, you're right. And now it doesn't matter, except that moving forward, we have to characterize them right, and that's probably not going to happen. It's not like this was on purpose, and even if it was, that's a really dumb, pointless, silly premise for your show. We're gonna go 15 out of 16 episodes and watch basically cardboard cutouts that are basically action figures that are being played with by this Time Master guy, this dunce guy. I just, it's hilarious. And I mean, like I said, it's massively entertaining because of that. But do I really think that from here on these people are going to start being sensible and I'm going to like them like I did before, that they're going to be less one note? No, I don't. But the flip for Palmer is also true, because Palmer I have loved a lot more in the show. So now that he definitely has his own free will, is he going to be the irritating nutball that he was before? I hope not. But that would, and I don't even want to say that would be consistent or that would make sense, because the arc that he's been having is a good one. He's the person that's been most consistently characterized. This episode, when he's ready to go ahead and sacrifice himself, knowing that that's how he's supposed to die, he's willing to go with destiny, and I gotta use destiny totally in air quotes now, because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a machine. That's the thing that looks the most like a real singular character arc going all the way through the season, and that's been kind of okay, and as organic as I could expect anything to be in the show. But it wasn't actually him. It wasn't the real Palmer. He wasn't himself. The whole show is a people aren't themselves episode. Wow. Now, to be fair, and I really don't think this is what's going on, but I can sort of see this. If the idea was that somehow it got into Druce's head that maybe the way to make sure that the aliens get defeated, and by the way, the Thanagarians, the Hawk people, that they get beaten in the future, is to manipulate Hunter to try to stop Vandal Savage. I mean, it's the most convoluted thing I can think of. Like, we need Vandal Savage, so we're gonna try to get Hunter to think he's stopping Vandals, but it's not really what's going. Anyway, if somehow or rather this incredibly ridiculous and convoluted scheme got in your head, and any way you slice it, it's convoluted, so this is still preposterous. But if he used the Oculus to look into the future. By the way, I called it a video game earlier, so I think it's kind of funny that, like, it's called the Oculus, and we have a thing coming out soon called the Oculus Rift, which is virtual reality technology. It's a video game. If he used the Oculus to look in the future, and he saw that the future will definitely turn out the way he wants it to, it's that possible future if he manipulates Hunter by by having Savage kill his family, then I can sort of see it in that at least then it's not every single little thing that our characters are doing was preordained ahead of time, not by fate or destiny, but by Druce, by Commander Duncecap guy. But we keep talking about it that way, so I'm not sure. Like we don't talk about it like Druce looked at the future and that's why it's gotta be this way. It's like they keep saying they're following the script. Everything they do, it's known they're gonna do that, and they're making the Time Masters are making sure they do that stuff right. But again, maybe it's because they can see all of the timeline and they know that if this one catalyst happens, then these people will make all these decisions. But if that's what it is, then these people are all totally in character and they have free will as far as their own persons go, and then you could have the argument. Still, we're not doing this. We're not having this argument. But you could then have the argument of is it destiny if somebody else knows exactly what's going to happen already, and so you technically don't really have any choice because you're going to do all the stuff that the timeline says you're going to do, but it still, in my mind, is free will because if you knew what was going to happen, you could change it. You wouldn't do it that way. It's just that those are the decisions that you made because I mean, according to these people that are able to see your whole timeline, you have already, it's like the Matrix, you've already made the choice. We're looking at the timeline as a thing that's already happened. It's just a matter of perspective. It's just where you are in the timeline. In my mind, I mean, it's an interesting argument, but in my mind, that's not really fate unless you can't change it, unless you try to change it and you can't. And again, Druce keeps talking about it like that. He's like, you can't change the future. It's already happened. We're not talking about a possible future. We're talking about the future. It's ironclad. You can't change it. But that's not true. It's only ironclad because you have a machine that makes it so that these people are going to do what you want them to until they go there and then they try to destroy it, and now they have the choice to do things differently from what they did in the first place because they know what the outcome is supposed to be. So I don't know where he's getting off saying that, unless he's just trying to make Hunter stop trying. I don't know. I should mention that I like the guy playing Druce a lot, and while this is all really silly, the expository scene where he and Hunter are having it out, and he's explaining to Hunter that he purposefully orchestrated Hunter's family's death. There's really strong acting in that scene. It's really good, and that's part of where I get off saying that this episode is more entertaining and more fun to watch than they mostly have been. Okay, I'm gonna go through some notes. I've decided to bring back the categories on my shows, and some of the other hosts might want to do this too, but this is going to be kind of my format. I miss them. It's a good way to get my thoughts organized and to give you guys a more concise sense of what I think about an episode right at the end, and to give you some nice fun details. So gonna go on now to best moment, worst moment, and the best moment of this episode is a small minor one, but it's just Sarah taking the helm again. Something about the idea of Sarah Lance being the captain of a time ship really appeals to me, and finally, even though we're not doing, a ton with that yet, finally, I'm liking her again, at least to a degree. She's still not what she was in Arrow. She's still more, thinly written than that, but that's fun, and it just really suits her. Like I said before, I want to see Sarah, the time-traveling adventure show. I think that'd be really cool, and tied for it, believe it or not, is the Sarah and Snart kiss at the end. I don't know if it's quite earned. I think it's earned. One of the things I like about that is just that we didn't spend the whole season doing a Sarah and Snart love thing, relationship, like I thought we might, because there was kind of a hint of their possibly having some chemistry early on. Now, she was kind of flirting with him a little bit toward the beginning of the season, if memory serves, and I did think it was a little bit odd that she's like, if you want, and I like this line, okay, if you want to steal a kiss from me, Snart, you're going to have to be a really good thief. But she seemed like maybe she would have entertained a relationship with him before. I'm not sure what exactly has changed. So I do think it's kind of funny that when Sarah kisses Snart and then later says he's a hero, that she doesn't try to grab it from him and sacrifice herself. And somewhat unintentionally, comedically, we have three characters in a row do this. Palmer is like, this is how I die, I'm going to accept that. And again, this is in his character, I like this. I'm accepting this. I wanted to make a difference, and this is how I make a difference. This is a wonderful way to go out. And then Snart's like, or Rory, rather, is like, oh, no, you don't, and Rory takes over. And I'll talk about Rory here in a second, because I love him and in this episode, and I don't think that they've earned that, or I want to love him, but they haven't really earned what they're doing. But anyway, so Rory takes it, because now he's altruistic super friend, and he cares about his team again. And then and then Snart is like, no, I'm not gonna let you die, and he takes over. And I kind of expected everybody there to keep doing this, and then I thought maybe it would get to a place where they would figure out some way that somebody wouldn't have to sacrifice himself. Why would you build a thing like that? Someone has to hold the stick in order for Oculus to be destroyed. It's like it was built so that it could be a plot device for a self-sacrifice story. It's the self-sacrifice self-destruct. Or destruct. It's not even a self-destruct. It's a self-sacrifice destruct. You have to stand there and hold the handle, or it's like a TOS turbo lift. You got to hold the handle. You can't just stand there and tell it to do things. You got to hang on to it. But this, the only way you can blow it up is if you stand there and you keep holding on. Why would you build something like that? Because you're Commander Dunce and you're plotting a crappy TV show. So yeah, it's just funny that Sarah doesn't even think to sacrifice herself, because she's died and come back already. She's the person who arguably has the least certain future, is kind of pointless, doesn't really belong anywhere. She seemed to me to be the person that it would have most made sense to say, you guys all have not gotten to live a life yet, and I got a second chance, and maybe this is why I got that second chance. I mean, heck, we keep talking about destiny the whole time and trying to decide what our fate is supposed to be and what, what time wants from us, so might as well do it there too. Yeah, so anyway, before I go to my worst moment, let me mention something about Rory. I don't know what has changed with him exactly. I feel like there's been scenes missing, and I've watched these episodes for the most part one time each week in succession, and haven't like binged them together or anything. So maybe there's stuff I'm not thinking of, or it would watch more organically. I mean, I doubt it. But it would maybe it would watch more naturally if I watch them together. His arc across this, but the thing that kept his faculties together and made it so that he wasn't completely brainwashed and was able to break the conditioning of the Time Masters when he was Kronos was his hatred for the crew, and now it's his love for the crew. Okay, that's sappy and hilarious, and I have no idea what has changed really, why he is developed. I mean, he's been with them less time than he was before. You know what? I shouldn't be talking about it, should I? Because I was written that way. That for some reason the Time Masters wanted Kronos to hate his crew and then get brainwashed, and then for the conditioning to not take, and then to go back. You see how this all completely breaks down and looks like it's a completely retroactive, nonsensical explanation for things? He's not a character like any of these other people. Just as I've been saying all along, except the TV show has now come out and said that these were not characters. Okay. That moment when Dunce, because that's his name now, is like a what's your name? And he's like, Kronos. He's like, okay, good. That is enough proof that the conditioning went through completely this time, and that you are totally brainwashed and will do anything we want you to, and that you should get your title and position and weapon back. And then what happens? Exactly what you thought would happen. You get to the very next scene, and he and Dunce is like shoot them, and he's like okay, and then he turns and he shoots that guy. Oh wow, who is surprised? We all saw that coming. So we gotta make the Dunce guy a dunce. We gotta really dumb him down so that you can have that moment, and so that Rory can look like the hero. And he's already a complete idiot because he wrote this TV show. Worst moment is the it's a tie. Say your name, Kronos is pretty darn hilarious. That's maybe my runner-up, but Jackson saying that the roofie thing was the best decision he never made. Oh God. And like, don't get me started on the butterfly effect here. So we go back to 2016 and to when they first got recruited. And Jefferson goes to Stein and tells him that he's going to go, that this time travel mission has been going on and that he's from the future. And but at the end of it, basically tells him that it's okay that he's going to be roofied. And you can tell that Stein has already decided he's going to do that. He's like, oh, I would never do that. No, it's okay. That has to happen. So go ahead and do that. Go ahead and go ahead and take complete advantage of me and drag me onto a ship without my consent. Go ahead and violate me because it's ultimately for the greater good, even though your motivations were purely selfish and what you did was absolutely deplorable. And I can kind of see Jefferson saying, I have to be on this mission because of what happens later in the future. But now Stein's motivations would be different, right? Like, the future wouldn't turn out the same way, because now he's going to give him the roofie because he knows that Jefferson has to be there, because Jefferson told him to do that, and because now he has a justification and permission to do that. So Stein should be kind of a different character once we get to him, but somehow or rather, he remembers everything exactly the same way. I mean, yeah, we've got the whole, again, for the umpteenth time, the whole time wants to happen thing, but I guarantee you that that's not going to change anything. Oh, by the way, did I miss something? What happened with the babies? Where they, like, grabbed themselves in an earlier time? Did we put them back? Did that ever happen? Did I miss that? I don't know. Now let's look at my favorite quote for this episode. Sometimes these kinds of comedic exchanges are kind of dumb, or they're sort of they take the place of the meat of the episode. But this was a case where I really kind of liked it, and thought it was funny. Where Rory hits Palmer for no good reason, and then he says, "Are you saying the Time Masters wanted me to do that?" And also, yes, that is what the show is telling us. But that was funny, and then a little bit later when Sarah then hits Palmer, that was kind of funny too. Our big idea, of course, is supposed to be fate versus free will, but you've got self-sacrifice in there, and we're trying to. I'll give the episode this. We're trying to tie everything together with this notion from the very beginning of these are people who didn't matter, and now they're going to matter, and so what it means to be significant, and what lengths you would go to feel significant, both in a positive way and a negative way. So that's still here and part of what we're talking about. But the fate versus free will thing doesn't work at all, because we're not talking about destiny. We're talking about a plot device machine that you have to hold onto if you want to blow it up. And then let me make a prediction. I think this show is the season, and hopefully the show, and I know we're getting a second season, but what I mean is I hope that we're not building on this for next season. I hope that each season really is going to be a new collection of characters, but doing different things, and that we get away from time travel. I really hope that we could just, like, maybe have kind of like this world's Justice League, and it's like an auxiliary thing where where it's like Brave and the Bold, and we just move them in and out a lot, different characters. But anyway, so I think Sarah is going to become a Time Master, or like restart the Time Masters, or be like a rogue time traveling adventurer, crusader. We have now. Maybe I'm latching onto this because it's a thing I like, but we keep putting Sarah in that chair, and it suits her really well, and I would love that. I would love it if Sarah flew off in a time ship off into the distance at the end of this show, and we could, I would love the show too, but we could imagine like the adventures of Sarah Lance going around the cosmos, actually protecting the timeline, and only dealing with things that are that are actually really messing up the real linear timeline. And it'd be fun to have her show up in other shows every now and again whenever some kind of time anomaly thing happens or whatever. So she'd be like a a more, good-natured Captain Braxton from Relativity in Star Trek Voyager. I'll also make a prediction about Snart. He makes the big sacrifice at the end, but he's not gonna stay dead. There's no way. There's no way we kill off Captain Cold. He is one of the most popular characters in The Flash, and he hasn't been on The Flash in a long time. Really, we're gonna kill off Captain Cold before we even really put the rogues together and do much with all of that. A lot of people have been kind of clamoring for a big bad for a Flash season that's not a speedster and that's not a big giant into the world cosmic and time travel plot. It'd be cool and almost ironic if we had Captain Cold leading the Rogues as the big bad for a season, and it was much more of a street-level kind of threat, especially after he was involved in all of this time travel stuff. But the problem is now he's kind of too noble for that, I think, potentially. But again, I guess he wasn't really himself this entire time, but that's a decision he makes after he's being controlled. So whatever. Maybe we have sort of in a really contrived sort of way gotten him there. But anyway, I don't know, actually kill off Captain Cold. And we've had a lot of this kind of jerking the audience around stuff where we pretend like a character is going to die and we fix it at the last minute, or we pretend like a character is dead and then we bring them back. We did that, of course, with Rory, and this is the flip of that, doing this now with his partner. I would like the reversal more, again, if I felt like the show had earned how much I'm enjoying Rory in this episode, and that now he really does care about the team. But again, I don't mean to keep harping on the same thing over and over again, but what's weird about all of that is that I'm supposed to think that he's developed an appreciation for these people. Maybe it'll be an earlier version of Snart. That could be actually kind of cool and interesting. Where you have a more roguish Snart, so that we don't have the superhero version moving forward. This would be like if you brought Spike back to life in Buffy after he made the big sacrifice at the end of Buffy season 6, and then you tried to make him the big bad instead of moving forward from there. So that is probably what you would have to do, is have a version, some other version of him. Because if we somehow rather bring back the one that just died, I don't really know how you make him a rogue, how you make him a bad guy. If they keep him dead, I'll be really surprised, and that would be a giant misstep. So that's everything I wanted to talk about today. Leave your comments, let me know, am I blowing this Oculus thing out of proportion? Am I not understanding it, or is it really that these characters are not themselves, and that they have been completely manipulated, and that you can't even see them as being their own person at all, real people at all, until the end of this episode? Sure seems like that's what's going on, especially when Rory's like, did the Time Masters want me to? Yeah, sure seems like it. Leave your comments, I'd love to read them, and thanks again for watching. I'm Captain Logan, and I'll see you again for the final episode next week.